You might now think, well, I'm listening to this podcast and maybe I should start my own, or maybe I should appear on podcasts and maybe this is beneficial for my business. The question is that actually a viable option? Does it work? And we have an expert on the matter with us here today. Hello and welcome, Gal Ko.
Thank you so much, Niels. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you very much for taking the time. So, you are an expert on podcasting. So, how would you say when now people think I think maybe podcast could be beneficial to me, but people have absolutely no idea how to do it. What is your advice when people consider anything with podcasting and they are business owners, so they're probably pretty busy and they don't have much time at their hand?
So, yeah, to address it, obviously, podcasting will serve you better because, nowadays 83% of executives are listening to around 5 hours a week of podcasts. And, 68% of them are actually making buying decisions based on what they hear. So, just to be out there on podcast, I bet that most of your competitors or the listener competitors are already trying to do it. But to open up a new podcast yourself, that is something that I will not recommend to anyone. Just because you're a founder, you already have your own job, your own things to take
And
care
I
for.
can tell you, it is a lot of work. Anyone who sells you the online class of do your podcast is just 1 hour a week, here are the news, it's not. It is
Yeah.
way more work than that.
Yeah, and statistically speaking, most podcasts die within the first seven episodes,
Yeah,
and most of them doesn't even get to 1,000 monthly listeners in a year of effort.
yeah.
So to be a founder and to open up a new podcast, that's insane, and I would not do it. What I recommend people to do is to hop on podcasts that already established their audience in
Yeah.
their industry, and to go from show to show, but borrow the audience and get the trust that you want. Because one show, obviously, it's not enough. But when
Mm.
you multiply it and you repurpose it in a ways that, it's super easy to repurpose podcastings at the moment. You can create blog posts, newsletters, long form, short form, whatever it is that you want from one episode, and you got all the angles, you got all the insights that you share. So it
Mm.
is the fastest and the best multiplier that I've seen in content, and I've been in marketing for 14 years now, over 14 years now. So yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. So I can tell you it was a lot of effort to get where we are right now. We have more than 100,000 listeners to this podcast so far. We had quite a number of top rank, which probably why you got in touch with us and you passed the barriers that we set because we roughly receive 300 pitches a month and we accept roughly 10 to 20 people per month maximum. So well done you here. When people now
Thank
wonder,
you.
okay, I'm a founder, I should be on a podcast. However, doing that research and finding the right show and doing the outreach, how can that be done without spending 10 hours a week on either outreach or research?
Oh, wow. So before we get into the research and the outreach and how to pitch yourself on shows, I think that, most business owners at the moment, they think that they're not a right fit for a podcast. Now, that's the thing that we need to, tackle first, because most people think they have to have a certain amount of followers, for example, or, Forbes 30 under 30 list,
Yeah.
or a perfect company or a perfect brand. But the fact is that they don't need all of these. They just need a story, a lesson to share, some sort of a transformation, and a message that helps people. That's actually what got me here today, because I can help founders and listeners to get on podcasts. But the thing is that your story is your authority and it's your experience. And this is what I need to boost first before we get to research and how to pitch. So after we've done that and we basically, changed your perspective on podcasting, that's when we actually try to pitch and
Mm.
research and all of those other things. Now, I actually have a very good framework that I use in order to find and vet the right shows. And the way I did it is, I got scammed. It is shamefully to say, but I got scammed and I paid $200 to be featured on a show with a name that its name is so good. Um, do you know Chris Voss, the FBI negotiator? Never Split the
Yes.
Difference, the
Yes.
book.
Of course, I know him. Yes, of course. Yeah.
Amazing, right? So one day, January 2024, I opened my email and the Chris Voss show was pitching me to get on this show. It only costs $200 and it is a 30-minute session. And I was like, oh my God, Chris Voss actually contacted me and
Yeah.
mentioned me, and maybe I'll get on his show. So I didn't dig deeper. That's why I reinvented the framework how to score podcasts. But I didn't dig deeper. I already paid, and I was preparing to go out on this, and I was so thrilled, so motivated, and I shared it across with my friends, and they told me, "Gal, did you check his YouTube?" And then I checked his YouTube account, and I've seen that some videos has 0 views, most of the videos has 0 engagement. And
Mm.
then it came across that this is not Chris Voss. It's a different Chris Voss, but it's not the Chris
It's
Voss
not that Chris,
FBI.
but he's just harvesting the name. Yes, there you are.
Yeah. So this is why I invented a framework called Stage. And this is the way I teach how to score podcasts.
Hmm.
So S stands for signal and size. So you have to check if there is a real audience to the show. If they have views on YouTube, for example, if they have newsletter readers or any social activity, that's S. T is for topic fit. You have to align yourself with the topic of the show. Obviously, I will not
Hmm.
go to a true crime show and just speak
Yeah.
about podcasting. It would not make sense.
Yeah.
A is for activity. So you have to see that there is a consistent activity and they publish. So if, for example, a podcast hasn't published for the last 30 days, just don't
Yeah.
go
They're
over there.
usually dead. Usually
Yeah.
dead. Yeah.
G is for guest friendly. Obviously, most shows are guest friendly, but there are some shows that actually don't host guests. So don't pitch yourself to those shows.
Yeah.
Obviously, that would be a waste of time. And
Yeah.
E is for engagement. Now, when we're speaking of engagement, it is really important to check the engagement of a podcast. Search maybe on Spotify if they have comments there, on YouTube if they have any action, not just people that buy views from overseas where it's cheap
Mm.
to get views.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. So what do you tell people who are business owners who will tell you, look, Gal, I am more of an introvert person. I am an expert. I really don't think I'm good with interviewing. I think I will really be pretty bad on a podcast. What do you tell these people who are probably really good experts? However, they think they are not suitable to be interviewed as a personality kind of issue.
So I would say that, I think that, and I've been in marketing for a while now, and I've seen so many people trying to sell so many, content packages, video packages, and people are, writing a price tag that is way above
Yeah.
everyone's imagination. But I would say that, and I would argue that podcasting is one of the most human activities that you can do to promote yourself. And I think that,
Hmm.
having this conversation between us, that's actually what podcasting is. It's
Yeah.
just two friends or two people that are interested in the same topic having a discussion. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, promotional, because if you're doing like a hard sell, people will not listen to you.
Yeah, usually,
That's
and
just
that's
like,
something which I also don't appreciate on my podcast. If anyone does a hard sell here, I usually tell them this is not going to work. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. So thank you very much for doing the research here, because I don't know if anyone who's listening to that, because we don't post about our rankings very often, but we are top 300 in the US as a non-native speaker podcast, top 50 in the UK, top 100 all across Europe. So we're doing pretty well, and we don't have any kind of fake outreach. I'm running this for 6 years now, so I built it up from my kitchen desk to where it is right now. When you now say people think of, okay, I'd like to be on these podcasts. However, what is it that you can do for me? Let's say someone approaches you and they say, "What can Galco do for me?" What is it? How you help people specifically?
Well, look, I've been in this industry for the past 2 years now. I've been in touch with over 1,000 shows. I've put founders on over 600 episodes.
Wow.
Um, but the way that I repackaged my service now, it is that I just want to help everybody, because I feel that podcasting is sort of a movement. I think that all those marketing gurus and content gurus have sold you up so many lies. So I just want to open up
Yeah.
that movement to everyone. So actually, I have a school community that is totally free, and I
Hmm.
do matchmaking Monday mania. That's every Monday, I match you with podcasts from my own database, and I do it for free for anyone inside. But besides that, obviously, I have a challenge to get you booked on 3 podcasts in under 30 days. And when you do that, you win your money back. As I mentioned, I'm here to help people grow this movement, grow this activity of podcasting, and make more human-like content rather than AI vanilla.
Mm.
So that's the thing. Besides that, I also do it done for you service, but this is usually for big companies, B2B tech companies. I already worked with unicorns and big startups. So yeah.
Brilliant. When now people say, hey, I think this might be really good for me, and they wonder, how can they get in touch? So, how can they get in touch with you personally?
So if you want to get in touch personally, I would recommend just connecting with me on LinkedIn, but leave a note so I can know that you just listened. That will make the difference. But besides that, you can just join the school community at school.com/podstar, and it's totally free. And I'm there all the time. I always answer any DMs. And yeah.
Brilliant. Now, just one last question, and then we're done for today. When people now wonder, okay, I'm thinking of doing this. However, I have my client appointments, I have to run my business, the accounting, and all of that. And well, maybe I do it next week. And these people who said next week about 50 times last year, and now we're here, and they said, yeah, I pushed it 52 times for next week last year. What are your top 3 steps when you say these are the 3 steps you have to do to actually get started to be serious about podcasting? Galco's top 3 tips for the final of this interview.
Um, so first and foremost, one of my first lessons inside the school community, which is free, is the reveal framework. And the thing is, people need to create their own sort of speaker page. Just some sort of a media kit to send over to podcasters, just
Hmm.
so they can feel you, see what your topics are. If you have any logos of companies that you work with, for example, that is also bringing much more to your authority. That's the first thing. But I think that if people don't find their intrinsic motivation to do something, they will not do it. But I can tell you that for sure, some people that haven't done this reveal framework and didn't create this profile speaker, they just enter the community, they just spoke in a bit, was active, and they already got booked on shows. So all you have to have is the right setup, the right be in the right place at the right time. In Hebrew, we say mazal. Mazal means luck, but mazal is also makom, which is a place, zman, which is time, and lamed is lif'ol, which is to act. So you have to be at the
Hmm.
right place, at the right time, and to act. And that's all you need. And in terms of that, I think I've created mazal and luck for everyone with my community. And yeah, I would try to encourage anyone just to do it. It's so human.
Brilliant. Absolutely perfect final words. I think I can tell you from my own experience, starting podcasting, especially any good show is looking for good guests. And I can tell you, when I receive these 300 pitches a month, 50% are absolutely crazy. People who want to talk about leadership never led anything. People who talk about sales never sold anything. So when you have your own business and you're good at what you're doing, get in touch with podcasting because I hardly know any executive who's not doing podcasting. Anyone says on the way to work, on the way back from work, during lunch breaks, I listen to podcasts. That's the way to go. So at the end of the interview, there's only one thing left for me to say. Galco, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Niels, for being here. It's been a pleasure.